Pavy Daily Hottakes, we back again. In this episode, we're going to talk about the LA Sparks. I actually just got back from the Sparks Mystic game in which they lost by an enormous amount of points. I don't even know points. I don't even know what the final score was, but it was bad. It was bad from the first, 3 minutes of the game on. It was just horrible. It was literally... I thought that the Liberty loss was bad. I said that was the worst loss of the season because they shouldn't have lost to the Liberty. I said that on Sparklight, by the way. If you guys haven't checked out my LA Spark show, Sparklight, make sure you guys check that out. Comes on Dash Radio at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Tuesdays. If you follow the SoundCloud, you've seen it. I'm gonna start making. They were on YouTube as well. We had a couple mix-ups, so they haven't. The most recent episodes haven't been on YouTube, but starting next week, they will be on YouTube again. But I want to update you guys and do this past daily hot takes about the Sparks because it's been on my mind. Candace Parker returned tonight. It was great to see Candace play. If you don't know, she's been out with a hamstring injury since the season started. I think we're on game 8 now. They play 8 games. She returned on game 8. It was great to see her back, but the Sparks have a lot of work to do. Coach Derek Fisher definitely has his work cut out for him. But what I do is give hot takes, and what I do is give suggestions. So I'm going to give you my suggestions for how the LA Sparks can fix things. Number one is Candace Parker's usage rate needs to be sky high. I think she kind of needs to be used like Jokic. For her career, she's been, 4 or 5 man. They had her playing the 3 tonight. But I think ultimately she needs to go back to the 4 position. 4 or 5, really. NECA can play the 5 as well. Really 4 or 5, but she needs to be used a lot like Jokic. I think she needs to be at the top of the key making plays because the one thing I noticed with the Sparks is they don't really have any guards besides Chelsea Gray. They don't really have any guards that have gravity. They don't really have anybody who can draw people to them when they get in the paint and dish it out and create open looks. And Candace is, besides Chelsea Gray, she's a great playmaker, but Candace is probably, the best playmaker on the team. She's the best player on the team, but she's also probably the best playmaker on the team. So I think the ball needs to stick in Candace's hands a lot, and a lot of the things that Derek trusts Chelsea to do, he needs to put those responsibilities on Candace. Literally, I think her usage rate should be 26% or 27%, something high. Put her at the top of the key and let her navigate and let her figure out, the right read. I think she should. I think she could even get a couple triple doubles this year. That's how much I think she needs to have the ball in her hands. Also, shout out Shanae. She's been playing great. She just had her best game of the season in the Liberty loss. But I don't think ultimately she needs to start for this team to go as far as they possibly can. With her starting, the floor spacing is just weird. Also, the defense is kind of weird. Obviously, Elena Beard, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. She hasn't been out there. But also, I don't think that Candace is used to covering guards and wings. And also, I think that offensively, she doesn't really stretch the floor as well. And I would just like to play more of with 3 guards or 2 guards and a wing, and Candace and NECA, as opposed to literally 3 bigs and basically a wing in Tierra and Chelsea. I think that, again, the floor spacing is just kind of funky when she's in. She could be the 6th man, come off the bench. But as far as starting, I think that after about a game or 2, I think that Derek will realize, she has to go back to the bench. And, they got their work cut out for them with the big man rotation. Maria still not even back from, EuroLeague yet. And, I don't even know, it's good right now, but I could foresee there being some. I don't necessarily know. Her sister's on the team, so, her sister could talk to her about anything. But I could foresee some tension because minutes are going to get cut, and they're going to all have to sacrifice. All of them are going to have to sacrifice something. I think that Shanae is going to have to probably sacrifice the most initially with Candace coming back. Again, I don't think that they will, the way they look today, I don't think that they'll look every day. Candace looked rusty. I mean, she looked like she hadn't played basketball in 8 months. I mean, she was a turnstile on defense today. But again, she hadn't played basketball in 8 months. Like, you could see that. Also, you could see the chemistry between her and NECA that she didn't have with some of the other teammates because they really haven't even had too much practice time lately. So I think that if Coach Fisher can make all the talent gel together, that they really have something special when they really have a versatile team. Obviously, look, they have to get healthy. Elena's still out. Their perimeter defense has been god awful recently. Like, they've been getting took to the cup. Like, every guard that comes in right now has a great day. Literally, every single guard that comes in has a great day. The point guard always ends up with like 7 or more assists of the opposing team because all they're doing is just breaking down the defense. Like, whoever is I love Sydney, but she's been getting taken off the dribble. But also, I also think Sydney needs to be inserted back into the starting lineup. I think the starting lineup ultimately needs to be Chelsea Gray, Sydney Weiss, Chelsea Gray, Sydney Weiss, Elena Beard, Candace Parker, and NECA. But I love her intensity. I thought that late in the first quarter of today's game, she came in. I think she came in, immediately snagged a rebound, and they kind of went on a little bit of a run. They closed out the quarter bad, but I think they did cut it to 10 before like somebody hit like a buzzer beater shot off like a tip and put it back to 12. But regardless, like I think right now they're maybe giving her too much defensive responsibility. Like, she usually has to take the best wing player right now because, I mean, Elena is obviously out. So the perimeter defense will improve, obviously, when she comes back. Also, I think the rebounding will improve. I think the Sparks actually did end up out-rebounding the Mystics today, which is interesting because the Sparks shot like 28% from the field and like 16% from three today, which is god awful. Also the turnovers. One thing I noticed, my favorite player, Marina Mari, she has to start using her left hand more. Her and Sydney got ripped up a lot today, mostly because like players were just overplaying them to their right and was just literally just jumping their right hand because that's what I think they put too much of an emphasis in getting to their right, so it made it kind of predictable. Also with Sydney, she made a couple nice crossovers, but just passed the ball too early. But I think that I think she scored 14 tonight. But I think that as like the season goes on, she'll be more comfortable in just doing what she does on the court. I mean, you can't pass up shots. When you pass up good shots, that messes up the offense. A couple times today in which she made a good move, great move, getting to the lane, and then tries to dump it off to somebody else, and now that's a steal, that's a turnover. You have to take good shots when they are available. But yeah, like I said on Sparklight, man, like I love this team. I love covering this team. I think this team has a lot of potential. But, I mean, it's not like the NBA where you have a long 82-game season. The season is like 32 games, if I'm not mistaken. I think they got like I think they got like 26 games or something like that left. So they got to figure this out quickly. Like, you don't have too much time to figure this out. I think they can. I think they need to. I think that this next week of practice, I mean, I think they played this weekend. I know they play, I think, the Mercury on Sunday, which I've actually heard Diana Taurasi might come back. I pray to God she comes back because I really want to see Diana Taurasi, play live. I saw Deladon today. She actually had the quietest 15 rebounds throughout 3 quarters I've ever seen. I do want to commend NECA for doing a great job defensively on her, though. The last 2 games, NECA has been matched up against Tina Charles and also matched up against Deladon. And, like, at least offensively, she's pretty much rendered both of them ineffective. I think Tina Charles had, like, 9 points. I think Deladon today was, like, 4 of 12 and had, like, 9 points or 12 points or something like that. But most of the buckets that she got did not come on NECA. But yeah, I hope she plays. They really need to get in practice and just like figure out their rotations and figure out their lineups, man. Like, that was a really, really bad loss. I mean, but you kind of got to expect that to happen. Like, literally the entire dynamic of the offense completely, like, everything looks so different with Candace being out there. I mean, and you could just see all the ways that she will eventually, once they get used to playing with her, make everybody else around her better. I mean, also Chelsea Gray. There are a couple plays in which I see her, being utilized in the post. I actually think she should spend about 15% of her possessions in the post. Because what's gonna happen is, like, when she matches up against the other team's opposing guard, usually they don't really have the size to contend with her. Like, usually most guards are much smaller than her. So eventually what's going to happen is they're going to have to come help. And when you come help, it's an open shot for somebody else. Her, Chelsea, and, like, Candace are really the only players on the team that have gravity. So I think the ball needs to be in their hands a lot. Again, I think that Candace Parker needs to be used a lot like Jokic. I would encourage, Fish to watch a lot of Denver tape and bring that into practice and see the ways that Jokic was used and use Candace in those exact same ways. I think that putting her at the 4 and having her at the top of the key to make plays pulls, again, a big away from the basket. And she'll also probably have the foot speed advantage to get past most 4s. And also I think defensively it's better. It's better for everybody if she's more so in the paint. She'll help with rebounding. She's a great rebounder. She'll help with rebounding. The Sparks have had a tendency to get out rebounded a lot this season. So yeah, I think that this, she needs to be used a lot like Jokic and play with 4 out instead of the way they were playing today. They damn near play with like 3 in sometimes. Like, Shanae's not really a threat from 3. She's good in the low post, great on the offensive boards. She's great with putbacks as well. But as far as like stretching the floor, I mean, she can hit maybe a foul line jumper. She can hit the occasional 3, but it's not a shot that you depend on her to hit. You don't really expect her to hit. As opposed to Nneka. Nneka has a really good stroke. She's much more of a floor spacer than what Shanae is. So I think that Shanae, again, will be best utilized off the bench. But even when Maria comes back, I don't know how they're going to work out that dynamic. I mean, I guess you can't really have too much talent, but I still do think that that's going to be an interesting dynamic that they're going to have to work out. And you got Kalani as well, Kalani Brown, who I think is going to be one hell of a player one day. But obviously, she's a rookie. She's only played 8 games. But I think she's going to be one hell of a player one day. Like, when it comes to size, she's probably one of the biggest players in the WNBA. Once she gets a little bit more skilled in the post, I mean, she already knows how to make great seals. She's already very aggressive on the offensive and the defensive glass. But once she gets, a little better drop step, a little hook shot, she's really, really going to be tough to defend. Also, she can stretch out a little bit. She can even hit the 15-footer, which even will open things up a lot more for her in the future. And also, again, Marina Marbury, like, I would love to see her utilize her left hand more. I think that, her utilizing her left and her being completely ambidextrous will open up her game a lot more and also open up her shot a lot more. And she'll be able to handle the ball and have more ball handling responsibilities. But again, like, they had 27 turnovers tonight. That is god-awful. I don't expect them to have 27 turnovers too much. And I think they gave up like 37 points off those turnovers. Like, tonight was bad. It was bad. But again, you could just tell that they weren't used to a new teammate. Also, like, you could tell fatigue played a part with Candace. I mean, she hadn't played. I mean, like, I know she's amazing. I know she's great, one of the greatest players of all time. But I mean, nobody can come back in off at 8 months of not playing basketball, basically, and hop into a game and go back to looking like an MVP. It just don't work like that. Warriors, when you throwing Kevin Durant out there, but regardless, it just doesn't work like that. But again, I think Coach Fitz has his work cut out for him. I think he's up to the challenge. I can see the Phil Jackson influence when I listen to him talk. I think he took a lot from Phil and Tex. I think he tries to put that in. Like, integrate some of those thoughts and some of those concepts into what he's doing. And I think that is something fresh for the WNBA. But again, like, tonight was bad. The Liberty loss was bad, which was, I think, Saturday night was bad. This was terrible. But I actually even think that the Liberty loss was worse than this loss. Like, this loss, you could tell, like, they just really didn't know how to play with Candace. Like, if you imagine, bringing in somebody who touches the ball damn near every single possession, and they haven't even. I don't even think they really even got a chance to really get in a really good practice with her. Like you can tell they're gonna mess up the rhythm, and people don't really know how to play with her yet. She's never played with Shanae. Chelsea used to handling the ball a little bit more than what she handled it tonight, obviously because again, Candace is back. But yeah, the things that I would like to see in the future when it comes to the LA Sparks. Again, I would love to see the starting lineup eventually shift to being Elena Beard. Probably at the one. Actually, no, Chelsea Gray at the one, Elena at the two, Sydney at the three. But you're really running like three guards out there, and Candace at the four and NECA at the five. I think that way you could play four out. You could also have Elena to match up against the best perimeter player right now. I think that you would see a decrease in the guards' assist numbers because like really these assists are just coming from the fact that they're just breaking down the perimeter defense, getting into the paint, and then just dishing it out and making decisions with it that way. So I think you'll see a decrease in opponents' assist numbers once she comes back. And also I like Sydney. I just like Sydney's energy and toughness. She brings a certain she always talks about hard work and just working hard and just keeping your head down and continuing to push. And I think that's what you get with her. And I think that for that reason she needs to start. You don't need that coming off the bench. She needs to start. I think that off the bench, that's when you bring in Marina. That's when you bring in Shanae. That's when you bring in Maria when she gets back. That's when you bring in Tierra, to have that elite defender off the bench. And also she's been showing that she also does have some offensive capabilities. Before the season, the conversation about starting her and Elena was the fact that, she's not the most offensive minded player. But she's been knocking down shots lately. She's been making some moves off the dribble. She's been disproving the theory that, she doesn't really have that much of a offensive skill set. But that's the starting lineup that I would like to see. I would also, again, like to see Candace Parker use more like the Nuggets use Jokic. And I would encourage Fisher to tell Chelsea to watch a lot of Andre Miller footage. I think that her and Andre's game have a lot of similarities, with them both being bigger point guards, them both being able to operate out the post. I love Chelsea's post game. I think that she should utilize it more. It's only gonna draw people to her and make it easier for her to kick out. And even if it's like a kick out to Candace, her knocking out three, you're kicking out to Candace, pump fake, get to the line, shoot a floater or something like that. Or even two people draw and it's dish it off to NECA under the rim. I think that her watching a lot of Andre Miller footage is something that I would encourage Fish to tell Chelsea to do. And again, I would love to see Candace utilize more like the Nuggets utilize Jokic. And that being said, I would love to see NECA kind of being utilized the way Paul Millsap is utilized, or the way Paul Millsap was utilized during the playoffs. Again, she's been great on defense quietly. I don't know how many people have noticed it, but she's been great on defense, especially the last two games. Again, her matchup has been rendered pretty much ineffective in these matches where Tina Charles and Elena Deladon. So it's not like we talking about some scrubs. We talking about, Tina Charles is Liberty's all-time leading scorer, and Deladon is fucking Deladon, one of the greatest women's basketball players ever. And she's done a good job on both of them in back-to-back nights. So again, man, for those of you guys that haven't listened to Sparklight, I guess you kind of got like a kind of a Sparklight episode of Pavy's Daily Hot Takes. But I mean, hey, it's my daily hot takes, and I can do what I want with it. So yeah, man, Pavy's Daily Hot Takes, and I would like to see Candace Parker be utilized more like Nikola Jokic. Talk to you guys later.